The classroom fell silent as Commander Vextral activated the holographic display. The massive reptilian instructor stood nearly 8 feet tall, his scales gleaming under the station lights. Around him, 300 cadets from across the galaxy watched with focused attention. This was the Galactic Military Academy, the most prestigious training facility in known space, and Commander Vextral was teaching advanced survival techniques. "Today we discuss death worlds," Vextral announced, his voice deep and commanding. "These are planets where the environment itself is hostile to most forms of life. Worlds where survival requires constant vigilance and adaptation." The hologram shifted, showing a planet covered in thick green jungles. Statistics scrolled beside the image. Gravity, 2.1 G, atmospheric toxicity, high, predator density, extreme. "This is Varkos Prime," Vextral continued. "A world where everything wants to kill you. The plants are poisonous. The animals are aggressive. The very air burns your lungs if you breathe too deeply. No intelligent species has ever evolved there naturally." The cadets murmured among themselves. Some looked frightened. Others looked curious. In the back row, Kang Taiho sat quietly, watching the display with calm interest. At 22 years old, he was one of the youngest cadets in his class. He was also one of only 5 humans in the entire academy. The hologram changed again, showing different worlds. Each one looked worse than the last. Frozen wastelands where temperatures dropped to 200 degrees below zero. Desert planets where acid storms could strip flesh from bone. Ocean worlds where the pressure could crush steel. "These worlds teach us an important lesson," Vextral said. "They show us the limits of survival. No matter how well trained you are, some environments are simply too hostile. Understanding these limits keeps you alive." Then the hologram shifted to show a blue and green planet. Taiho sat up slightly. He recognized it immediately. "Earth," Vextral said, and the classroom erupted in noise. Taiho heard whispers all around him. Cadets turned to look at him, their alien faces showing various expressions of surprise and concern. He kept his face neutral, but his heart beat faster. "Earth is classified as a Class 7 hazard world," Vextral continued, raising his voice over the chatter.
"Let me show you why." The statistics began to scroll.
Gravity, 1.0 G, which might not sound bad until you realize that 70% of galactic species evolved on worlds with lower gravity. Temperature range -40 to +50 degrees Celsius. Weather patterns, violent and unpredictable, including hurricanes, tornadoes, and electrical storms. Predator species, over 400 apex predators, thousands of dangerous animals. Disease organisms, countless bacteria, viruses, and parasites. "Earth has seasons," Vextral said. "The planet tilts on its axis, creating dramatic changes in temperature and daylight throughout its year. In some regions, you can experience freezing winters and blazing summers in the same location. The temperature swing alone would kill most species." A cadet from the avian species Rinal raised his wing. "Commander, how did humans survive there? Were they naturally immune to the dangers?" "No," Vextral replied. "Humans have no natural armor, no venom, no claws or fangs worth mentioning. Their senses are average compared to most predator species. They evolved through sheer adaptability and an unusual trait called persistence." "What about the gravity?" asked Tormak, a large mammalian cadet from a high-gravity world. 1G is not so extreme." "For you, perhaps not," Vextral said. "But consider this. Humans evolved to function perfectly in 1G. They can run, climb, fight, and work for hours without tiring. Most species find Earth's gravity exhausting after a short time, and humans learn to use this to their advantage." The hologram now showed various Earth landscapes: dense forests, steep mountains, hot deserts, frozen tundras. "Earth is not just one environment," Vextral explained. "It has dozens of distinct climate zones, each with unique dangers. Humans spread across all of them. They adapted to every environment their planet offered. This makes them incredibly versatile survivors." Taiho felt pride warming his chest, but he kept his expression calm. He had learned early in his academy career not to show too much emotion. Other species often misunderstood human expressions. "The point of this lesson," Vextral said, "is to understand that some worlds are beyond our ability to conquer. Earth is one example. I state with confidence that no cadet in this room, regardless of species or training, could survive on Earth for 30 days without technological assistance. The environment alone would break you within a week." The classroom fell silent. Every cadet was looking at Taiho now. He felt the weight of their stares. Some looked at him with pity. as if sorry he came from such a terrible place. Others looked skeptical, as if they doubted Earth could really be that bad. Tejo stood up. His chair scraped against the floor, loud in the quiet room. "Sir," he said clearly, "with respect I accept your challenge." The room exploded. Cadets gasped, shouted, turned to their neighbors in shock. Rinal's feathers fluffed up in alarm. Tormak's eyes widened. Even Commander Vextral looked surprised, his inner eyelids flickering. "Cadet Kang," Vextral said slowly. "You understand what you are saying?" "Yes, sir," Tejo replied. "You said no cadet could survive on Earth for 30 days. I disagree. I accept the challenge to prove it." "But you are human," protested Zixara, an insectoid cadet. "You grew up there. It is not fair." "That is exactly the point," Tejo said, turning to face his classmates. "Commander Vexitral said Earth is a death world that breaks anyone who tries to survive there. But humans do survive there. We thrive there. If Earth is really as deadly as you all seem to think, then maybe you should reconsider what you think about humans." The classroom erupted again, this time in heated debate. Some cadets argued that Tejo had an unfair advantage. Others said the challenge was meaningless since he was already adapted. A few seemed excited by the idea. Commander Vextral held up his hand for silence. "Cadet Kang, this is not a trivial matter. If I accept your challenge and you fail, it will reflect poorly on both you and your species." "I understand, sir," Tejo said. "But if I succeed, perhaps Earth and humans will receive the respect we deserve." Vextral studied him for a long moment. Then slowly the commander nodded. "Very well. I accept your acceptance. Standard survival challenge rules. 30 days in Earth's wilderness, basic gear only. No technological assistance beyond emergency beacon. I will arrange it with the Academy Board." "Thank you, sir," Tejo said and sat down. The rest of the class passed in a blur. Tejo barely heard the lecture. His mind was already on Earth, on the mountains and forests of his homeland. He thought of the skills his grandmother had taught him as a child: how to read weather patterns, how to find water, how to move quietly through the forest. After class, other cadets surrounded him. Some congratulated him. Others warned him he was making a mistake. Tormak pushed through the crowd. "I volunteer to join this challenge," the large alien said. "If Earth is truly so dangerous, I will prove my species can survive it too." "Me as well," Rinal added, his wings fluttering nervously. Soon 5 other cadets had volunteered. Commander Vextral agreed to include them. The challenge was becoming an official training exercise. That evening, Tejo sat alone in his quarters looking out at the stars. Somewhere among them was Earth, the planet everyone thought was too hostile for life, the planet that had shaped humanity into what they were. His communicator beeped. It was Dr. Yoon Hana, one of the 3 human professors at the academy. Her face appeared on the screen, looking worried. "Tejo, I heard what you did today," she said. "Are you sure about this?" "Yes, Professor," he replied. "Do you understand the political implications? If you fail, it could damage humanity's standing in the galactic community." "I won't fail," Tejo said simply. Dr. Yoon studied his face. Then she smiled slightly. "You have your grandmother's stubbornness. She would be proud." "Thank you, Professor." After she disconnected, Tejo returned to looking at the stars. He thought about all the cadets who had looked at him with pity today. All the ones who thought humans were just lucky to survive their own world. All the ones who didn't understand what Earth had made humanity into. In 1 week, they would all understand. In 1 week, he would go home. The transport ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, shaking slightly as it hit air currents. Inside, 6 cadets sat in harness seats, their gear secured around them. Tejo looked calm. The other 5 cadets looked nervous. Tormak kept adjusting his breathing mask. Rinal's feathers were fluffed out, making him look twice his normal size. Zixara's compound eyes reflected light in strange patterns. Brita, a feline-like cadet, had her claws extended and retracted repeatedly. Nalkor, the amphibious cadet, kept his skin moist with a spray bottle. "Approaching landing zone," the pilot announced. "Jirisan National Park, South Korea. Local time is 1400 hours. Outside temperature is 32 degrees Celsius with 85% humidity." 32 degrees? Nalkor said. "That is warm." "That is very warm," Tormak agreed, his voice tight with concern. Tejo said nothing. 32 degrees was a normal summer day. He had trained in worse. The ship landed on a cleared area near the forest edge. The exit ramp began to lower. Tejo stood and grabbed his pack. The other cadets stood more slowly, taking deep breaths to prepare themselves. The moment the ramp fully opened, heat and humidity rolled into the ship like a physical wave. Tormak made a choking sound. Rinal stumbled backward. Even Zixara, with her armored plating, seemed to shrink away from the opening. Tejo walked down the ramp without hesitation. His boots touched earth soil and he breathed deeply. The air was thick and hot, full of the scent of pine trees and wet earth. It smelled like home. Behind him, the other cadets slowly followed. They moved as if walking through water, each step taking effort. By the time they reached the bottom of the ramp, Tormak was breathing hard. Rinal's feathers were already matted with moisture. "This is comfortable weather?" Rinal gasped, staring at Tejo. "For summer, yes," Tejo replied. "It gets hotter in some regions." "Impossible," Tormak muttered. "How can anything live in this?" A vehicle approached across the field. It stopped near the group and a young woman stepped out. She wore a ranger uniform and moved with easy confidence in the heat. Her face was slightly flushed, but she showed no signs of distress. "Appa," she called, using the Korean term for older brother. "Jiwoo," Tejo said, smiling. They embraced briefly. The alien cadet stared. Another human, looking completely unbothered by conditions that were already making them weak. "I am Park Jiwoo," she said to the group. "I am a wildlife ranger here in Jirison. I will be your official observer during this challenge." She spoke in perfect galactic standard, the common language taught across all worlds. "How are you not dying in this heat?" Brita asked, her feline ears flat against her head. Jiwoo looked confused. "This is normal weather." "Are you feeling unwell?" "We're all feeling unwell," Zixara said. "This heat is extreme." "Oh," Jiwoo said, understanding. "Yes, I suppose it might be uncomfortable for you. Tejo mentioned you were from different climate zones. Do you need water?" "We have plenty." She offered water bottles from her vehicle. The cadets drank eagerly, already more thirsty than they expected to be. "Let me explain the challenge rules," Jiwoo continued. "You will spend 30 days in this wilderness. You must survive using only your basic gear. There are 4 checkpoints spaced throughout the area. You must visit each checkpoint weekly to confirm you are still participating. If you choose to quit, activate your emergency beacon and a rescue team will retrieve you within 1 hour. Any questions?" "What about the dangerous animals?" Alcor asked. "There are wild boar, bears, snakes, and various insects," Jiwoo said. "Stay alert and respect their space. Most animals will avoid you if you make noise while walking." "Bears?" Rinal whispered. "There are bears here?" "Asian black bears," Tejo confirmed. "They are usually not aggressive unless you surprise them or threaten their cubs." "Usually?" Rinal's voice went higher. Jiwoo smiled. "You will be fine if you follow standard safety procedures. Tejo knows what to do. Good luck, everyone." She returned to her vehicle and drove away. The cadets watched her go, then looked at each other. Then they looked at the dense forest ahead of them. The trees seemed to shimmer in the heat. "We should move into the shade," Tejo said. "Standing in direct sun will tire you faster." They followed him into the forest. The temperature dropped slightly under the canopy, but the humidity seemed even worse. Everything felt damp. The air itself felt heavy. Tejo led them to a suitable camping area near a stream. "We will make camp here," he said. "First, we need shelter." While the other cadets were still removing their packs, Tejo was already working. He found suitable branches and vines. His hands moved with practiced efficiency, building a frame for a shelter. The alien cadets watched in confusion. "Should we not use our tents?" Tormak asked. "We have tents," Tejo agreed. "But knowing how to build shelter from natural materials is important." "What if your tent is damaged?" He continued working. Within an hour, he had built a solid shelter that would keep rain out and allow air to flow through. The other cadets struggled to set up their manufactured tents, fighting with poles and fabric in the oppressive heat. Day 12 arrived with clear skies and brutal heat. 2 cadets had already quit. Rinal had activated his emergency beacon on day 8, after developing a severe reaction to multiple insect bites. Zixara had lasted until day 10 before admitting that the humidity was destroying her ability to breathe properly through her specialized respiratory system. 4 remained. Tejo, Tormak, Brita, and Nalcor. They sat around the morning fire, eating the last of their emergency rations. "Food is now a problem," Tormak stated. chewing slowly. These rations were meant to last 30 days. We have eaten them too quickly. The heat makes us more hungry, Nalcor said. Our bodies burn more energy trying to stay cool. Brita looked at Taiho. I suppose you have a solution for this as well? Taiho smiled. We hunt, we gather. This forest has plenty of food if you know where to look. Hunt what? Tormak asked. What prey lives here? Many things, Taiho said. Deer, wild boar, rabbits, fish, plus edible plants, mushrooms, berries. He stood and gestured for them to follow. They walked through the forest, Taiho pointing out various plants. These leaves are edible. These berries are safe. These mushrooms are poisonous, avoid them. The alien cadets were amazed at how much knowledge he carried. Taiho seemed to know every plant, every tree, every sign of animal passage. How do you know all this? Brita asked. My grandmother taught me, Taiho said. She learned from her grandmother. Humans pass survival knowledge down through generations. It is part of our culture. They reached the stream. Taiho showed them how to catch fish using improvised traps made from branches and stones. Within an hour, they had caught several fish. The aliens were impressed but still hungry. This is not enough food for 4 people, Tormak said. We need larger prey. Then we hunt, Taiho agreed. Tormak stood to his full height. He was the largest of them, heavily muscled and powerful. I will hunt, he announced. My species are excellent hunters. We have hunted the mega beasts of our homeworld for thousands of years. What will you hunt? Taiho asked. You mentioned wild boar, Tormak said. I will bring one back for our camp. Taiho hesitated. Wild boar are dangerous. Maybe we should hunt something smaller first. I am not afraid of earth animals, Tormak said. I have trained in combat for years. One boar will not defeat me. Brita and Nalcor decided to follow Tormak at a safe distance. Taiho came along as well, his face concerned. They tracked a boar by its sounds and marks in the mud. Tormak moved confidently, following the trail. Then they saw it. A large male boar, easily 200 pounds of pure muscle with sharp tusks and small, angry eyes. Tormak charged. He was fast for his size, closing the distance quickly. The boar saw him and squealed. But instead of running, it charged back. What happened next shocked the alien cadets. The boar hit Tormak like a battering ram. Its tusks slashed at his legs. Its weight and momentum knocked the large cadet backward. Tormak tried to grab it, but the boar twisted away, impossibly agile for its bulk. The fight lasted less than a minute. Tormak retreated, bleeding from several cuts, breathing hard. The boar snorted and trotted away, uninterested in continuing the fight now that the threat was gone. How? Tormak gasped, staring at his wounds. How did that animal defeat me? Wild boar are tough, Taiho said, applying bandages to the cuts. They have thick skin, dense muscle, and bad tempers. They have been fighting predators for millions of years. They know how to fight. But I am stronger, Tormak protested. Strength alone is not enough, Taiho said. The boar has advantages. Low center of gravity, sharp weapons, and no fear. It has fought wolves, bears, and humans. It knows how to survive. Tormak sat heavily on the ground, looking at his wounds in disbelief. He had thought earth animals would be easy prey. He had been very wrong. So how do humans hunt them? Brita asked. Carefully, Taiho said. With weapons, traps, or numbers. Or we hunt different prey. He paused. Or we use our special advantage. What advantage? Nalcor asked. Persistence, Taiho said. Let me show you. He led them back through the forest, moving quietly. After an hour of tracking, he spotted a deer grazing in a small clearing. The animal was alert, ears swiveling to catch any sound. Watch, Taiho whispered. He stepped into view deliberately. The deer saw him and bolted, running at full speed into the forest. The other cadets expected Taiho to chase it, but he did not run. He just walked, following the deer's trail at a steady pace. It is gone, Brita said. You are too slow. I am exactly the right speed, Taiho replied, still walking. They followed him for hours. Taiho never ran. He just walked steadily and tirelessly. Occasionally they would spot the deer ahead resting. Each time Taiho would approach and the deer would run again. The alien cadets were confused. This was not hunting as they understood it. Where was the chase? Where was the dramatic pursuit? This is boring, Nalcor complained after the 3rd hour. This is persistence hunting, Taiho explained, still walking. The deer is faster than me. Much faster. But I do not need to be fast. I just need to not stop. But it keeps running away, Brita said. Yes, Tejo agreed. And each time it runs, it uses energy. Eventually, it will be too tired to run anymore. They walked for 6 hours. The sun moved across the sky. The alien cadets were exhausted, but Tejo kept walking. His pace never changed. His breathing stayed steady. The deer was now stumbling when it ran. Its sides heaved. Foam appeared around its mouth. When Tejo approached the 7th time, it barely managed a weak trot. The 8th time, it could not run at all. It just stood there, legs shaking, completely exhausted. Tejo approached carefully and made the kill quickly and efficiently with his knife. "Thank you," he said quietly to the animal, following a tradition his grandmother had taught him. The alien cadet stared in shock. "You walked it to death," Tormak said, his voice filled with awe and horror. "You did not even have to fight it. You just refused to stop." "That is what humans do," Tejo said. "We are not the strongest. We are not the fastest. But we do not stop. Ever. We keep going until our prey cannot go anymore." "That is terrifying," Brita whispered. "That is survival," Tejo corrected. "Earth taught us this method. Most predators here are ambush hunters or pursuit hunters. They use bursts of speed and power. But humans evolved differently. We learned to outlast our prey, to be patient, to be stubborn." They carried the deer back to camp. It was heavy work, but they had meat for many days now. As they walked, Tejo explained more about human hunting history. "Ancient humans hunted animals much larger than deer," he said. "Mammoth, bison, giant elk, animals that could kill a human easily in a direct fight. But humans did not fight directly. They tracked these animals for days. They threw spears from a distance. They drove them into traps. They exhausted them with persistence. Slowly, over thousands of years, large animals learned to fear humans. Even predators learned to avoid us." "Because you never stop," Nalcor said quietly. "Because we never stop," Tejo confirmed. That night, they cooked the deer meat over the fire. As they ate, an animal sound echoed through the forest. It was deep, powerful, and close. "What was that?" Brita asked, her fur standing on end. "Bear," Tejo said calmly. All 3 alien cadets jumped to their feet, looking around frantically. Tormak grabbed a large stick. Brita's claws extended. Nalcor moved closer to the fire. "Stay calm," Tejo said. "Make noise. Make yourselves look bigger." A large black bear emerged from the darkness, drawn by the smell of cooking meat. It was massive, easily 400 pounds. The alien cadets froze in terror. Tejo stood and raised his arms, making himself look larger. "Hey, get out of here." "Go on," he shouted loudly. The bear stopped. It looked at Tejo. Then it sniffed the air, considering its options. Tejo took a step forward, still shouting and waving his arms. The other cadets thought he was insane. The bear made a huffing sound. Then it turned and lumbered away into the darkness. The alien cadets stood in shocked silence. "That is all?" Tormak finally said. "You shouted at an apex predator and it just left?" "Asian black bears usually avoid humans," Tejo explained, sitting back down. "They learned long ago that we are dangerous. Even apex predators on Earth know not to bother humans unless they are desperate or protecting cubs." "But why?" Brita asked. "You are smaller than the bear, weaker, you had no real weapons." Tejo looked into the fire. "Because somewhere in that bear's genetic memory is knowledge passed down from its ancestors. Knowledge that says humans are not worth fighting. We are too clever, too persistent, too willing to come back with weapons and numbers. Predators that tried to eat humans regularly became extinct. The ones that learned to avoid us survived." He looked at his alien companions. "Earth's animals learned what you are learning now. Humans are not impressive physically. We are not the biggest or strongest or fastest. But we survive. We adapt, we persist. And that makes us more dangerous than any predator." The alien cadets sat quietly, processing this information. They had come to Earth thinking they would prove their species were superior to humans. Instead, they were learning why humans, despite seeming weak, had survived and thrived on a world that should have killed them. "How many days left?" Nalcor asked quietly. 18, Tejo replied. The alien cadets looked at each other. 18 more days of heat, insects, storms, and dangerous animals. 18 more days of watching Tejo handle everything that Earth threw at them with casual competence. They were beginning to understand that completing this challenge might be the hardest thing they had ever attempted. And Tejo made it look easy. Day 21 began with strange weather. The air felt heavy and still. The birds were quiet. Even the insects seemed less active than usual. Tejo stood at the edge of their camp looking at the sky. Dark clouds gathered on the horizon, moving slowly but steadily toward them. "Something is wrong," Brita said, joining him. Her feline instincts made her sensitive to environmental changes. "The air feels dangerous." "Storm coming," Tejo confirmed. "A big one." By midday, Jiwoo arrived in her vehicle, driving faster than usual. Her face was serious. "Appa, we have a problem," she said in Korean, then switched to Galactic Standard for the others. "There is a typhoon approaching. Weather satellites show it is very strong. The Academy Board has ordered evacuation for all participants." "No," Tejo said immediately. "Be reasonable," Jiwoo argued. "This is not a normal storm. Wind speeds over 150 kilometers per hour. Heavy rain, flash flooding. It is too dangerous." "The challenge was 30 days, Tejo said. "I have 9 days left. I am not quitting because of weather." Jiwoo looked at him with frustration and pride mixed together. "You are just like grandmother. Too stubborn for your own good." "Is that supposed to discourage me?" Tejo smiled slightly. Jiwoo sighed and turned to the alien cadets. "What about you three? You can evacuate with no shame. This storm will be beyond anything you have experienced." Tormak looked at Tejo, then at the approaching storm. "If the human stays, I stay. I will not quit first." "Same," Brita said, though her ears were flat with fear. Nalcor hesitated longer. "How bad will this storm be?" he asked. "Very bad," Jiwoo admitted. "Possibly deadly if you are not careful." "Then I must stay," Nalcor decided. "If I evacuate but the others survive, I will bring shame to my species." Jiwoo shook her head. "You are all crazy. Fine, I cannot force you to leave. But I am required to inform you that Orbital Command is monitoring the situation. If they determine you are in immediate danger, they will extract you whether you agree or not." She pulled Tejo aside and spoke quietly in Korean. "There is a cave system 2 kilometers northeast of here. You remember it from your childhood visits?" "Yes," Tejo replied in the same language. "Take them there." "It is your only chance." She hugged him briefly. "Be safe, little brother." After Jiwoo left, Tejo gathered the others. "We need to move to better shelter. There is a cave nearby where we can wait out the storm." "Should we not just stay in our tents?" Nalcor asked. "No tent will survive what is coming," Tejo said. "Trust me." "We move now." They packed quickly, taking only essential supplies. Tejo led them through the forest at a fast pace. The alien cadet struggled to keep up, but the urgency in his movements made them push harder. The wind was already picking up when they reached the cave entrance. It was a good-sized opening leading into a dry chamber deep enough to protect them from the worst weather. "Inside quickly," Tejo ordered. They barely made it. Within an hour of reaching the cave, the typhoon hit with full force. The sound was incredible. Wind screamed through the forest like a living thing. Rain fell so hard it sounded like thousands of drums beating. Thunder crashed constantly. Lightning turned the world outside the cave into a flickering nightmare of white light and black shadow. The alien cadets huddled deeper in the cave, terrified. They had never experienced weather like this. On their homeworld, storms were gentle compared to Earth's fury. This was not weather. This was violence. Trees outside bent nearly horizontal. Some snapped with sounds like gunshots. Water poured down the mountainside in rushing torrents. "This is normal?" Tormak shouted over the noise. "This happens regularly on Earth?" "Typhoons are common during late summer," Tejo said, having to raise his voice to be heard. "Sometimes several in one season." "How does anything survive?" Brita asked. She was pressed against the back wall of the cave, her eyes wide with terror. "By being flexible," Tejo replied. "Or by being strong. Or by hiding like we are doing now." The storm continued through the night. None of them slept. The constant noise and the knowledge that they were trapped made rest impossible. The temperature dropped as the rain cooled the air. The alien cadets shivered, their bodies struggling to maintain warmth. Tejo built a small fire using dry wood he had stored in the cave. "I scouted this location days ago," he explained. "I prepared for the possibility of needing emergency shelter." "You knew this would happen?" Nalcor asked. "I knew something might happen," Tejo said. "On Earth, you always prepare for problems. The weather can change quickly. Animals can be unpredictable. Injuries happen. You survive by planning ahead." He kept the fire going through the night, rotating positions so each of them could warm themselves. He talked to them, keeping their minds occupied and away from their fears. He told stories of his grandmother surviving worse storms. He explained how typhoons formed and why they were so powerful. He taught them breathing exercises to stay calm. Humans feel fear just like you, he said during a quiet moment between thunder crashes. We are not braver than other species. We just learn not to let fear control us. How? Brita asked. How do you stay calm when everything is trying to kill you? Taiho considered the question. We accept it, he finally said. Earth is dangerous. That is just reality. Fighting against reality is pointless. So we accept the danger and work with it. We prepare. We adapt, we endure. And we remember that storms always end. Nothing lasts forever. The second day of the storm was somehow worse. The wind increased. Flash flooding began. Water rose rapidly in the streams and rivers. Through the cave entrance, they could see muddy water rushing past, carrying broken trees and debris. If we had stayed at our camp, we would be dead, Tormak said quietly. Yes, Taiho agreed. That is why we moved. On the third day, the storm finally began to weaken. The wind dropped. The rain decreased to a steady pour instead of a torrential downpour. By evening, it had passed completely. They emerged from the cave to find the landscape transformed. Trees were down everywhere. The trail they had followed was completely washed away. Mud and debris covered everything. Small landslides had changed the shape of the hillside. The extraction point is 15 kilometers that way, Taiho said, pointing. We have 3 days to get there. The journey back was brutal. Without the trail, they had to navigate around fallen trees, through thick mud, and across swollen streams. The alien cadets were already exhausted from 3 days of fear and poor sleep. Now they had to make a difficult journey through destroyed terrain. Tormak injured his leg on the second day of travel. He stepped on a submerged branch hidden by muddy water, and it stabbed through his boot. The wound was not life-threatening, but it made walking painful. Brita's paws were raw from the rough terrain. The soft pads on her feet had not evolved for Earth's harsh ground. Each step made her wince. Nalcor was better adapted for rough travel, but the stress and exhaustion had weakened him. He moved slowly, struggling to keep up. Only Taiho seemed able to function. He was tired, yes. He was hungry and dirty and sore, but he kept moving. He helped Tormak walk. He found the best routes through the destruction. He kept them moving forward when all they wanted to do was stop and rest. How are you still going? Tormak asked on the final day. The large alien was leaning heavily on Taiho for support. We are all breaking. You should be the weakest of us. By every measure, my species is stronger than yours. But I cannot continue, and you are still walking. Strength is not just physical, Taiho said. Mental strength matters too. On Earth, mental strength often matters more. The ability to keep going when your body says stop. The refusal to quit. This is what Earth teaches humans. It is not natural, Brita said. No species should be able to ignore their body's limits like this. We do not ignore them, Taiho corrected. We acknowledge them. Then we keep going anyway. There is a human saying, pain is temporary, pride is forever. We decide that temporary suffering is acceptable if it means accomplishing our goal. They reached the extraction point on day 29 with only hours to spare. A medical team was waiting. The moment they saw the group, medics rushed forward. Tormak and Brita were immediately taken for treatment. Both were suffering from exhaustion, dehydration, and various infections. Nalcor was not much better, requiring intravenous fluids and rest. Taiho waved away the medics at first. Check them first. They need help more than I do. A doctor insisted on examining him anyway. She found him dehydrated and underweight, covered in scratches and bruises, but fundamentally he was healthy, functional, still capable of continuing if necessary. You completed the 30 days, the doctor said in amazement. And you helped 2 injured cadets reach extraction. How? Taiho smiled tiredly. I am human. This is what we do. Commander Vextral was waiting at the landing pad when they arrived back at the ship. The reptilian instructor looked at his returning cadets. 3 aliens on stretchers, barely conscious. 1 human standing on his own feet, dirty and tired but unbowed. Vextral approached Taiho. For a long moment they simply looked at each other. Then the commander did something unprecedented. He straightened and saluted. Cadet Kang, he said formally. I stand corrected. Earth did not make survivors. Earth made warriors. Taiho returned the salute. Thank you, sir. As the ship lifted off, Taeho looked down at the green mountains of Korea, his home, the place that had shaped humanity into what they were, the place that had tested him and proven him worthy. In the medical bay, Tormak raised his head weakly. "The human one," he said to Brita in the next bed. "Yes," she replied, "but we learned something important." "What?" "Never underestimate someone from a death world, especially not humans." The medical bay was quiet except for the soft beeping of monitoring equipment. Tormak lay in his recovery bed staring at the ceiling. His leg was healing well, but the doctors said he needed another week of rest before returning to training. The door opened and Taeho entered, carrying 2 containers of food from the station cafeteria. "How are you feeling?" Taeho asked, setting one container on the table beside Tormak's bed. "Alive," Tormak replied. "Thanks to you." "You would have made it without me," Taeho said, sitting in the visitor chair. "No," Tormak said firmly. "I would not have. Without your help, I would be dead on that mountain. I owe you my life." He paused. "Why did you help us?" "We volunteered for your challenge to prove humans were not special. We wanted to embarrass you." Taeho opened his food container. "I know, but leaving you to die would make me less human, not more. Humans help each other. It is part of our survival strategy. We are not strong alone, but together we can accomplish anything." The door opened again, and Brita limped in, followed by Nalcor. Both were released from intensive care but still recovering. "We heard you were here," Brita said. "We wanted to talk." They gathered around Tormak's bed. For a moment, nobody spoke. Finally, Nalcor broke the silence. "The whole galaxy is talking about what happened. The videos from Jiwoo's observation equipment have been seen by billions. Everyone is discussing humans now." "What are they saying?" Taeho asked. "Many things," Brita said. "Some are impressed, some are frightened, some are demanding humans be reclassified in the galactic database." "Reclassified how?" Taeho asked. "From Category 4 civilization to Category 2, Tormak explained. "It changes everything. Trading rights, military partnerships, council voting privileges. Humans will have much more influence in galactic politics." Taeho set down his food. He had not expected his personal challenge to have such far-reaching consequences. "There is more," Nalcor added. "Human enrollment applications at the Academy have increased by 400%. Alien cadets are requesting human instructors. Everyone wants to learn what makes humans so resilient. And the 3 of us," Brita said, "are being treated as veterans now. Other cadets look at us with respect because we survived Earth, even if we needed help. We are famous in our own species." Taeho smiled slightly. "So the challenge accomplished what it was meant to do. People no longer think of humans as weak. They think of you as terrifying," Tormak said bluntly. "You walked for 6 hours to exhaust a deer. You shouted at a bear and it ran away. You survived a typhoon and then carried 2 injured cadets through destroyed terrain. You did not just survive Earth. You thrived on it. Because it is my home," Taeho said simply. "I was born there. I understand it." "That is the point everyone is missing," Brita said. "You understand Earth because you had to. Your entire species had to learn to survive that nightmare world or go extinct. That understanding made you different from the rest of us, made you dangerous." The 4 of them talked for another hour. They shared meals and stories. They had gone through something intense together and it had created a bond. They were no longer just fellow cadets. They were brothers and sisters who had survived Earth together. Over the following weeks, Taeho's life changed dramatically. He could not walk through the academy halls without being recognized. Cadets from dozens of species approached him with questions. How did humans develop such endurance? What mental techniques did they use? Could they learn to think like humans? "Doctor." Yoon Hana summoned him to her office one afternoon. When he arrived, he found Admiral Hwang Minho there as well, the highest-ranking human officer in the sector. "Cadet Kang," Admiral Hwang said, standing to greet him. "You have done something remarkable. You have changed how the galaxy sees humanity." "I only wanted to prove we deserved respect, sir." Taiho replied. You did more than that, Dr. Yoon said. You showed them what Earth creates. Now there are consequences we must manage carefully. Admiral Huang activated a holographic display. It showed galactic news reports all discussing humans. Some were positive. Others showed concern about human military potential. A few showed outright fear. Some species are worried, the Admiral explained. They see persistence as aggression. They see endurance as threat. We must be careful not to appear dangerous while still maintaining the respect you earned. What do you need from me, sir? Taiho asked. The Academy Board has made a proposal, Dr. Yoon said. They want to create a new course, Human Survival Techniques. They want you to teach it. Taiho was surprised. I am only a cadet. I have not even graduated. You are the cadet who survived what 6 others could not, Admiral Huang said. You are proof that human methods work. They want you to share that knowledge. Would I still complete my regular training? Taiho asked. Yes, Dr. Yoon confirmed. You would teach 1 class per week while continuing your cadet studies. After graduation, if you choose, you could become a full instructor. You would be the youngest in Academy history. Taiho considered it. Teaching had never been his plan. He had wanted to join the Exploration Corps, to see new worlds. But this opportunity could help humanity in ways exploration never would. I accept, he said. 6 months passed. Taiho stood in front of his first official class as an instructor. 40 cadets from 20 different species looked at him with a mix of curiosity and nervousness. Welcome, Taiho began. I am Instructor Kang. This course is called Human Survival Techniques, but that name is slightly misleading. We will not be learning to survive like humans. We will be learning to think like humans. He activated a holographic display showing Earth from space. This is Earth, my home. Your database probably lists it as a Class 7 hazard world. This classification is correct. Earth is hostile to most life. But here is what that classification does not tell you. Earth did not make victims. Earth made survivors. He walked across the front of the classroom. Humans are not the strongest species. We are not the fastest. We do not have natural weapons or armor. By most physical measures, we should have gone extinct, but we did not. Do you know why? Several cadets shook their heads. Because we refused to, Taiho said simply. When Earth tried to kill us with predators, we learned to hunt them instead. When it tried to kill us with weather, we learned to predict and prepare for it. When it tried to kill us with starvation, we learned to eat almost anything. We adapted, we persisted, we survived through sheer stubbornness. He pointed at different cadets randomly. You are built for speed. You are built for strength. You are built for stealth. All excellent adaptations. But what happens when your primary advantage is taken away? What if you cannot run? What if you cannot fight? What if you cannot hide? The classroom was silent. Humans have a backup plan for our backup plan's backup plan, Taiho continued. We survive by having options, by being flexible, by refusing to quit even when quitting makes logical sense. This is what I will teach you. He smiled slightly. First lesson, endurance training. We are going to run. Just run. For the next hour. No breaks, no stopping. Your bodies will want to quit. Your minds will invent reasons why you should stop. Your survival instincts will tell you this is unnecessary suffering. And you will ignore all of that and keep running. Welcome to human training. The alien cadets looked at each other nervously. Then slowly, they stood and followed Taiho to the training track. Years passed. Taiho graduated with honors and became a full-time instructor. His classes were always full, always demanding, and always effective. Cadets who completed his courses performed better in every area of their training. They were tougher, more resilient, more capable. Tormak, Brita, and Nalcor also graduated and took positions throughout the galactic military. Wherever they went, they told the story of their time on Earth. They became ambassadors for human capability, spreading respect for humanity across dozens of worlds. The human population in the Academy grew. More young humans from Earth applied. inspired by Taiho's example. They brought their own survival knowledge, their own perspectives on persistence and adaptation. 20 years after the challenge, humanity was granted a permanent seat on the Galactic Council. The vote passed unanimously. The reasoning given was simple. Any species that evolved on a death world had valuable perspective on survival and resilience that the galaxy needed. 30 years after the challenge, Commander Kang Taiho led the first mixed species expedition to another Class 7 hazard world. The team of humans and aliens successfully established a research station on a planet previously thought uninhabitable. The techniques Taiho had taught made it possible. 50 years after the challenge, Admiral Kang Taeho stood before the graduating class at the Galactic Military Academy. He was older now, his hair showing gray, but his eyes still held the same determination they had when he was 22. "Today you graduate," he told the assembled cadets. "You have trained hard. You have learned much. Some of you have trained under human instructors. Some have learned human survival techniques. Others have studied different methods. All of you are prepared to serve the galaxy." He paused, looking across the hundreds of faces. "Before you leave, I want to tell you something important. The challenge I undertook 50 years ago was not about proving humans were superior. It was about proving we deserved respect, that we had something valuable to contribute. Every species here has unique strengths. Every homeworld creates unique adaptations. Humans bring persistence and adaptability. Others bring different gifts. Together, we are stronger than any species could be alone." He smiled at the cadets. "I have spent my life teaching the lessons Earth taught humanity. But the greatest lesson is this. Survival is not about being the strongest or the best. It is about refusing to surrender, about facing impossible challenges and saying, 'I will find a way.'" The graduating class sat at attention, absorbing every word. "Tomorrow you leave this academy and enter service. You will face challenges. Some will seem impossible. When that happens, remember what you learned here. Remember that humans survived Earth not because we were superior, but because we refused to quit. And remember that you can choose to embody that same determination." He straightened to attention. "When the universe presents you with an impossible challenge, when others say something cannot be done, I want you to remember this moment. I want you to raise your hand and say 2 words that have become humanity's motto. 2 words that changed everything 50 years ago. Say them with me now." The entire graduating class stood. Humans and aliens together, they spoke in unison, their voices filling the great hall. "Challenge accepted." Taeho smiled, feeling pride swell in his chest. 50 years ago, he had been a young cadet trying to prove his worth. Now he was an admiral, watching a new generation embrace the philosophy that Earth had taught humanity. The ceremony ended. Cadets filed out to celebrate with families and friends. Taeho remained on the stage, looking at the empty seats. Jiwoo appeared beside him. She was a senior ranger now, overseeing all of Jirisan National Park. She had traveled from Earth specifically for this ceremony. "Grandmother would have been proud," she said quietly in Korean. "She taught me everything that mattered," Taiho replied in the same language. "No," Jiwoo corrected. "Earth taught you. Grandmother just showed you how to listen." They stood together in comfortable silence, 2 humans far from home, thinking about the world that had shaped them and the legacy they were building across the galaxy. Later, Taiho returned to his quarters and found a message waiting. It was from Tormak, now a general commanding a frontier fleet. "Old friend," the message read, "I watched your speech today. You asked us to say challenge accepted when faced with impossible tasks. I have decided to take your advice. I am leading an expedition to establish contact with a reclusive species in the Outer Rim. Everyone says it is impossible. They have rejected all previous contact attempts. But I learned from the best. I will persist until I succeed. Thank you for teaching me that stubbornness is a virtue. I will make you proud." Taeho smiled and recorded a reply. "You already make me proud. Remember, be patient, be respectful, and never give up. These are the human ways. You will succeed." He sent the message and looked out his window at the stars. Somewhere among them was Earth, the blue and green world that everyone had once called a death world, the world that had forged humanity into survivors. But it was no longer just humanity that carried Earth's lessons. Now, species from across the galaxy learned to persist, to adapt, to refuse surrender. Earth's greatest gift to the galaxy was not technology or resources. It was philosophy. The understanding that survival comes from within, from the decision to keep moving forward no matter what. Tejo thought about the scared young cadet he had been, standing up in Commander Vextral's class and accepting an impossible challenge. He thought about the 30 days that changed everything. He thought about the legacy that was still growing, still spreading, still inspiring. And he smiled. Because he knew that somewhere in the galaxy, someone was facing an impossible challenge. And because of what he had started 50 years ago, they would not give up. They would raise their hand. They would say the words, "Challenge accepted," and they would persist until they succeeded, just like humans had been doing since the first days on Earth, just like they would continue doing forever, because that was what Earth had taught them. That was what made them human. The story of Cadet Kang Tejo became a legend told across 1,000 worlds. But it was more than just a story. It was a reminder that where you come from shapes who you are, but determination shapes what you become. And given enough determination, even the impossible becomes achievable. This was Earth's gift to the galaxy. This was humanity's contribution to galactic civilization. Not weapons or ships or technology, but an idea. That surrender is a choice and you can always choose to keep fighting. Challenge accepted, always.